Hello and welcome to the Watch Kaki channel where we bring you all the good and honest watch reviews. In today's video, we're going to take a look at the West End Watch Classic Series, and this one here has a Tiffany blue dial. As you can see, these days Tiffany blue dial watches, they are the in thing. You know, if any company rolls out a watch with a mint green Tiffany blue or a pink dial watch, sure to sell like crazy. And I think West End Watch, they are very quick, to ride on this wave here. And here it is, they've rolled out the Tiffany blue dial series for their classic watch. Before we continue with the review, let me take some time here to thank our boutique, because they're the ones who kindly loaned me this watch for my video reviews. Thank you very much, Eric and your team. You've been really kind to me. And back to the watch on review today. The West End Watch Company, it's a Swiss brand. It's a Swiss-made watch and sports a Swiss movement, of course, and these are OEM ETA movements. So most of their collection, is based off Rolex homage. So as you can see, this watch here is a dead ringer for the day-date watch. It's got day and date complications. So it is, I would say, a copy or a homage of the Rolex day-date watch. And for me, I think this one here follows exactly, even the bracelet here, it really reminds me of the 80s, 90s kind of 5-digit serial number kind of Rolex, where everything is stamped, okay, stamped, clasp, stamped end links or folded end links. Alright, so I don't know if that's the aim of the company. Plenty of stamp and hollow parts here in the watch, but overall the watch head here, I would say it looks pretty decent and it looks like a good quality copy of a Rolex watch. And of course, the Rolex Tiffany dial OP36 and OP41, they created such a huge wave in the watch hobby 2 years back when it was launched. So these watches are now discontinued. So if you want to lay your hands on a Tiffany blue dial OP36 or OP31, I think you have to fork out about 30 to 40,000 Singapore dollars. I haven't really checked the latest going prices for these watches, but I think it's a little bit crazy to pay so much for a stainless steel watch for a very basic movement. So enter the West End Watch Company. So this one here offers you a chance to own a Tiffany dial day-date kind of look, but without paying the crazy premium if you want to have a Tiffany blue dial Swiss-made watch. So with the lens zoom in a little bit, let's take a closer look at the West End Watch with Tiffany blue dial. I've reviewed 2 of such watches before, and the dimensions, the specs, they are exactly the same. So this one here has got a case size of 37 millimeters. Thickness is about 10.7 millimeters from the base of the sapphire crystal display back to the top of the flat sapphire crystal. That is without the height of the Cyclops here. Okay, so I can't be bothered to measure the height with the Cyclops because I think the Cyclops is just really annoying. It's got a lug width of 20 millimeters, and I think this will be very good for people who are into strap changes. I'm not such a person. I normally, just put it on a strap or a bracelet that I like and it will stay on it. And the movement here is a very basic ETA 2836. Alright, so it's a day-date complication, and this one here I would say is super basic because it has no decorations of any sort apart from the logo that is engraved on the rotor. Alright, apart from that, there are no other efforts to further decorate the movement. Not an issue at all, because for Swiss movements at this price point, we are talking about under 800 Singapore dollars. I think it is very reasonable. At the time of this review, the West End Watch Co. Classic Series, this one here with the Tiffany dial, it retails for 799 Singapore dollars. So if you go to our boutique, you talk to Eric, be nice to him, I'm quite sure you get some kind of discount. You can even use my name, the Watch Kaki Andy. Tell him you're a good friend, you're a fan of mine. I really think you might get a discount. Yet more information not found on West End's website. This watch here has a lug length of 43.8 millimeters, so very good for people with smaller wrists like myself. And it has also got a dial opening of about 31 millimeters. So let's move on and spend some time and talk about the overall build quality and case design. Let me just start by talking about the watch case or the watch head. Alright, I gotta tell you, for this price point, I really have no complaints when it comes to overall build quality, because I think this case here is overall very well machined, well made. You can see a slight recess area here where they actually sort of let the bezel sit recess in it. I think that's a pretty nice touch, but overall I think no issues at all. The brushing at the top of the lugs here and the polishing on the case sides, I think it's pretty decent for this level of Swiss made watches. But when it comes to the bracelet, I must admit to you that I'm not really a big fan of it, because first, it's got all these stamp parts here. The entire clasp mechanism here is stamped. Okay, it looks like something from the 80s. Okay, and it doesn't have solid end links. Right. I have no confirmation on the links themselves. Not too sure if they're hollow or semi-hollow or whatever. But it does have screwed in links here. Okay, and as I move the bracelet, you can see there's so much give and allowance for flex. Okay, so it is a President style bracelet, and the center links are polished. Okay, I'm not going to remove the protective film here because, you know, this being a loan set, I don't do things like resizing or taking out the protective layers. And now let's move on and talk about the dial. So there's really nothing much going on apart from the Tiffany blue color on the dial. So that is the only talking point of this watch. Alright, if you want to get this watch, I would say the only reason is for that dial color. And if you're not into this dial color, I think you won't even be looking at the watch. Okay, so the overall design of the dial is exactly the same as with previous Classic Series watches I have reviewed. They follow very closely to the Rolex Day-Date design. One of my viewers, Andrew, he talked about the gold plated hands and the markers here. Alright, so his concern was the gold color don't match, alright, it doesn't match. But for me, I think it's pretty cool. Okay, I think no issues at all. I think the gold plated markers, not a problem at all. Okay, so my only big complaint about this dial here would be the same as with any videos I've made. I'm really not a fan of Cyclops. I think Cyclops are just, I don't know, they're just hideous. So let's track back and talk about something not related to the dial. I'm actually liking this fluted bezel here. Alright, so again, never been a fan of fluted bezels, but I think this one here works really well. Sort of matches everything, and even this small little crown here, I think it fits the whole classic Day-Date look very well. The amount of text and prints on the dial is also a little bit overwhelming for me. It's got the logo at 12 o'clock and plenty of text nearer to the 6 o'clock area. I think it's got automatic text, how many jewels and all that, and there's also a small little crosshair logo, which I don't know what it means, but overall I think the dial design is, you know, it is what it is. It is a very classic look to it, and for this one here, if you're a fan of the Tiffany blue dial color, I think definitely you're going to be a fan of this watch. And here's a look at the wrist shot as I zoom out on the lens, and you can see that at 37mm it fits my wrist very well. I'm very confident that even the ladies will be enjoying this watch, because I'm seeing more and more women wearing 40mm subs and Daytonas and all that these days, so definitely not a problem for women. Alright, 37mm. Thickness is very manageable at 10.7mm. Short L to L at under 44mm. No issues at all for guys out there who plan to buy this for the missus. And now let's do a very quick size comparison between the West End watch and some of the watches I have with me today in the studio. First up, I'm going to compare it against my Zin, and my Zin is on a deluxe leather strap today for this video. Okay, so as you can see, the West End watch is not a big watch at all. Alright, it even looks smaller when put next to the Zin 556, which is not a very big watch. In terms of thickness, I think due to the case design here with all the rounded sides and all that, it actually looks much thinner than 10.7mm would suggest. So overall, if you're concerned about the case size, this is definitely not a problem at all. And here's a bonus size comparison between the West End watch and my Seiko. So this is a Seiko Quartz, and I call this series the SGG series. I call it the uncle-ish looking Seiko. So this is actually a very dark blue dial here, and you can see they're about the same size. Alright, 37 case size, 37 millimeters, and thickness wise, of course, the Seiko being a quartz definitely has some kind of advantage. And here's a quick roundup before I sign off the video. So overall for me, I think this watch here, you only get it because you like the dial, and apart from that, I think there's really nothing much going on when it comes to this classic series watch. It is more or less a copiage, homage, copy, whatever you want to call it. Or if you like the design, if you like this look, if you like the dial color, then perhaps you would go for it. But for me, I think there's really not much going on for this watch, even though it's at a very good price point. So sub $800 Swiss made watch, Swiss movement and all that. Pretty decent workmanship on the watch case, but I'm not such a big fan of the bracelet, and I feel that I'm gonna give this watch a pass. So there you have it. That was my review of the West End Watch Co. Classic Series in Tiffany blue dial. If you like this watch, if you like this video, please click and like my channel. I'll see you next week. This is the Watch Kaki signing off with George, with Pixie, and their plant, Hoya plant, I think. Alright, bye bye.